Hello, everyone. My name is Austin Belzer from Austin B Media, and welcome to another interview from South by Southwest
Today I have the
2025.
pleasure
Of talking to the creative team behind the film Glorious Summer, Helena, Bartosz, and Daniela. Um, that's now screening during South by Southwest on March 10th and March 13th, I believe. In fact, multiple screenings on the 10th and 13th. And for those who maybe aren't aware of Glorious Summer, it's a stunning drama set in a sun-drenched Renaissance palace where three women live under one command: never cross the wall. And as hidden emotions and a desire for freedom emerge, their idyllic existence unravels into a powerful tale of repressed passion and the quest for Bartosz and Daniela. Welcome. Apologies
Hi.
for the long intro. I just want to make sure people know about your film.
Sure.
But yeah, but hopefully the time change didn't affect you all too much.
We almost didn't notice.
And as
Well,
I
good
said,
because
like, yeah, today finally is the day when I kind of slept well, so it's a big success.
honestly, same. And I finally got more than 6 hours of sleep for once. Helena, I think I'll start with you.
Yeah.
So for for um for clarification, I would love to hear about your role in the film. Like what, since we have there's three of you, I would love to hear, are you director, screenwriter, cast, what is your role in the film?
Yeah, like we wrote it with Bart as a screenplay, and I was already back then part of the cast. So, and I loved to work with my colleagues from school because I studied with Daniela and with Magda, the other performer, and it was a great opportunity to kind of invite them and create something together. Because since school, I had a strong will to work with them, and I loved how they were, developing themselves as a performer. So yeah, and I was like part of that trio on stage. And then, like after years, we decided to make a film out of it. So we co-directed it with Bartek, and there was a moment of like, wondering if I'm the best choice to stay in a cast because theater is a bit like doing the whole film as both being an actress and director is like well, it's demanding. So we had a doubts during that pre-production process. And then there were auditions where I saw a bunch of great actresses that actually could take my part. But yeah, but at the end, I thought that there is this kind of dynamic between the three of us, me, Danielle, and I kind of couldn't imagine someone else jumping into it. And yeah, and I thought that, well, like this is the only chance maybe to try it out and to see like with our first film if it's actually possible to share that roles and maintain that during the set. Yeah, and it was a struggle. Then later on during the edit, I had to kind of get used to see my face on a screen because we don't have a distance for ourselves, so it was quite hard. But then I had Bart, who was really supportive, and our editor, and they were kind of relaxing me and calming me down. So yeah, that was me.
Yeah, I can tell you, whenever I edit, interviews like these, I think the worst thing I can do while editing is look at my face. I'm like, I can't. I gotta focus on the
So
other interviewee because I'll go like, oh, what face did I make there? Do I look disappointed in their answer? When I know I'm really not, I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to listen, and I look at the Zoom footage and I'm like.
Yeah. So my feelings, like it was exactly the same thing. I was like, what do my eyes do? Like, why the hell am I blinking so much? So it was horrible.
Yeah, and then I'll be like saying yeah a bunch, and I'll be like, oh yeah, yeah, uh-huh, uh-huh. Uh, but yeah, I could totally relate to just like uh, trying to like edit yourself is probably one of the worst things you can do because you get self-conscious about it. In fact, that's why,
Yeah.
I have a microphone. Um, it has like a thing where you can hook your headphones in. I purposely don't hook them in because then I hear my own voice and I'm just like, no, I can't. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
My voice ain't supposed to sound like that. But enough about me. I would love to hear more about you. This isn't about me, I promise. You direct and, compose. I'd love to hear about like approaching the score to reflect the film's tension while also, it's kind of a unique thing, directing and scoring. I don't think I've ever heard of that before. So I'd love to get some insight on that.
Right. Yeah, that's yeah, I guess that you could say that's a unique combo. Yeah, I sometimes do that when we have, projects. We also do commercials from time to time there will be a situation where I can also like compose some music for that. Yeah, so I that's kind of nice to be able to look at the project from a different perspective.
Mhm.
And sort of jump into a whole different type of focus, and a whole different set of skills that you have to utilize to make it work. And so for this one in particular, well, we had some temp music obviously that we used during the editing, and what we knew was that there is because the movie is so simplistic and so minimalistic in terms of the tools, the storytelling tools that are used, or in terms of how girls act and how minimal their performances are. That we knew that the music couldn't go like too crazy. It couldn't be too broad. It just had to have this, sweet spot of giving you enough mood and vibe and adding to the story, but then not being a tad too much, because when it was a little too much, you could like it was taken away from the story. So we had some temp music that reflected that, and then one of the hardest things for a composer is when everyone gets used to the temp tracks and they work, and now you have to do it all over again, but it has to work the same way. So yeah, so that's always a tricky part. Yeah, but it's at the end of the day, it's I gotta say it's quite satisfying to be also doing that. And and for me personally, I had to hire myself and and do this, but it's a dream come true to make a soundtrack for a feature film.
And
I'm a huge
Thank you.
because it's like the music which he composed, it's very melancholic and spaceful, and I feel like a lot of pleasure. And in this movie, it's classical opera and very like simple sometimes, like, and it gives you, it's really sophisticated.
Thank you. Thank you.
So-
Wow.
yeah, and Daniela, I'd love to hear about your role, and how do you prepare for a role that requires so many complex emotions from you?
I was spending some time with the daughter of my sister, who has, oh my God,
What?
I don't know her age. I think she's,
Your sister won't see it. Fine. Go down.
I'm small enough of an outlet they won't see it.
yeah, she's small, and she's very happy. And very happy from very small things, because my character is very naive, and she's like she's believing in the system. Yeah, so I was watching her, and I was thinking how to be naive, but not conscious that you are stupid. But really believing in your thoughts and how you feel with the other people. And because I really love I don't know who are you for me, but in the movie, but it's something between sisters and friends, because we are like sisters, but we are not sister by blood. So yeah, they are my whole world, and I can't I want to go out from the castle, from the palace, but I want to be with them, and yeah, what will be at the end of the movie, we'll see.
And that's a perfect segue. Helena, the film is set in this Renaissance palace, which is both, timeless and that obviously it gives it its own history to it. Um, I'd love to hear about the inspiration for the setting and how it reflects the themes of the film.
Well, it's a place that actually like took our attention from the very beginning because we knew that location from the previous project that we did. We shot a music video there. And then after a couple of years, we came out to the idea to put that performance that we worked on into that location as a film. And it was amazing to actually have it in mind while writing, so we could actually think of specific places, specific parts of the palace while writing the script. And it's really unique because you have this amazing texture, like raw walls that are there that are kind of falling apart, but still, trying to keep the structure. And it was amazing to kind of go there and explore it and to have that feeling of being there and really like immersing during the shooting process, because we were like a filmmaker village for that 2 weeks that we spent there. So it was possible to have the whole crew living there for the shooting time. And the palace itself, it's beautiful because it's somehow, it looks good in a camera. Feel the smell of it, which is good in the camera. So
we don't have
and we
smell-o-vision yet.
Yeah, fortunately for this project. Because during the scouting, we had a couple of other places that we looked at, but each one of them gave us totally different vibe. Like they were too much like a wedding places, like too white gold, or too much horror vibe, like, dark wood and kind of a gothic vibe that we didn't want it. And for this one, it looks like a Italian villa that you want to be in. So that was our, first goal, to have audience really like saying like, oh man, I would love to, sit down there and or
Drink wine.
drink wine and having a cooling water in my pool. So yeah, and I feel that we got it there.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to visit it just from the stills I've seen of the movie.
Yeah.
And fun fact about me, Renaissance era history is like my favorite era of history. So
All right.
Sorry, one sentence. And the place has his own story, like the soul, and that was also amazing to explore the space during the shooting, but in the movie, but also like between watching the sky, like everything what you can see in the movie, but really feel the space, and it fulfill us the taste of this of beat was also super nice.
you talked about living there. That just made me come up with a spontaneous question. Obviously, I'm sure the light pollution there is zero. So I'd actually love to hear if you went like stargazing. It's not relevant to the film at all, but I can just imagine like staying at that castle and looking up.
Yeah.
Danielle
did with the other actress and with our script.
Yeah. You did sleep on the terrace, right?
The whole night on the terrace and look at the sky. It was amazing. One of the best experience in my life. Really, like, and when we saw the stars going down,
Nice.
Oh my God.
You had a nice time.
I'm jealous.
You can.
And then getting back to the film, Helena, Bartosz, you co-wrote the screenplay together, so I'd love to hear about the collaborative process of making that script.
So when we work together on screenplays, it's we sort of try to do it in a collaborative way. Somebody writing some bits and then sharing that and discussing and getting through the stage of this not being what we want it to be, and sort of trying to shape this into a cohesive piece of work. And the screenplay itself originated as the theater play a couple of years ago, and back then it was very sort of loosely based on Shakespeare's Richard III, and that's where the title is actually coming from the first two verses of Richard III. There's like this bit about glorious summer, so that's what remained, because then obviously
the whole rest is
we took out the Shakespeare part, because that was for a Shakespeare festival and it was like a whole different thing, and then we took it out
and we replaced it with all that like mindfulness and wellness base that is within the system that the characters live in. But for the process, it's like, Bart writing some parts, me writing some parts, then just switching them and giving comments, trying to not feel attacked by the other person, and trying to, be open and understanding that it's not about you. It's it's
about getting this done in the best way that we can.
Yeah, and with this one, it was also different because I had that other perspective of being inside. So I kind of knew that, well, that's not going to work for us. It's going to be hard to tell. Or the other thing was actually that we had the actresses already cast from the performance. So it was really great to have it in mind while writing, because sometimes we were coming up with sentences that sounded crazy, but then we were like, yeah, but she'll say it in a way that it was really good to have it already like on board.
Yeah, and speaking of the performance, Daniella, the film is based on like this concept of touch language. So I'd love to hear about trying to process to convey emotions without really using a whole lot of words, and the unique challenges that brings up.
I don't know. We built this world together during the process of the performance, and in some time we just felt that less words is better for this movie. It's more mysterious. It's more, they don't use the words because they don't need it, because the sensation is the most important thing for them. And
that's an interesting note. Sensation is the most important thing. If you ever have a quote, I feel like that should go on the poster.
You got it.
Actually, it was really important for us to have like that sensual part, and because the characters their world is so small that they kind of notice everything in it, because you have very limited, like you really, after so many years in one place, you actually feel it in a very, specific way. And also they know each other very well, because their whole world is themselves. So they didn't have to use that many words.
And also they learn the emotions by the system. So it's a bit different than in our world.
Mm-hmm.
And they build the language also by the system and by these emotions. So the emotions are a bit different, and the language is a bit different. Like the same time, but the same thing, but they don't experience so much the bad emotions. It's not
allowed.
Yeah.
To feel the bad emotion.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really good answer. Yeah, really insightful, actually. The more that I think about it, but yeah. And going back to you, Bartosz, the film uses a bunch of visual and sound cues to kind of portray what's going on and to hint at what's going on behind the scenes. I would love to hear about the challenges of using those cues.
Well, like we knew from the start that our budget wouldn't allow for showing very much, but then within that limitation, there is also creativity to be found because basically when you cannot show, you have to figure out a way to communicate this to the viewer, and then we had this. Thought that it would be really nice because the girls are basically closed and imprisoned in a way in this one limited space that they would have that they would have some sounds of the outside world coming to them. We wouldn't show any of that, but we would actually communicate that there is some world on the outside and there is something happening there, but they are constrained from that it is the view is obscured by the wall, the trees. They just get little glimpses of light and sound, and that to us was yeah, we kind of like that as a storytelling tool to leave as much for the imagination of the viewer as possible. And that whole movie is kind of based on giving a lot of questions, like making a lot of questions and not giving answers to most of them. Just so the viewer can find his own way through the meanings or through the feelings that you know we try to evoke there.
And I think suppressed emotions is honestly at the core of the film. Right, Helena, I'd love to hear about approaching weaving that in with the hints at long suppressed anger and the practice of how to die. I'd love to hear about weaving that into what appears to kind of be an idyllic environment.
Yeah, like the idea to practice dying was also a part of the script back then when we did the performance, and it was coming from improv that we did, and we kind of loved the idea of them being so naive to kind of they actually, for us, the interesting part was that they were in a closed space, but anyway, they kind of needed a legend to kind of survive and to run their life or to make their goal. Like, because my character, she, like, many years ago, she saw a girl that died, and she saw like that there was someone who came and took her from that place. So in their naive minds, it was like it became a way to get out of there. So they try to kind of to perform that scene, and that has to make them to get out of there. So yeah, so we had like a practical part of it. So we had to learn how to keep our eyes open and not to blink, to keep our breaths, to loosen up our bodies in a way that they look dead. So it was super interesting research for our characters. And yeah, and it's also like in a more of idea platform. It was interesting for us to have dying as a way to change the space that you're in, because it's basically what happens probably. So it was also meaningful in that way for us that they were, changing the place of their being by.
No worries. I just want to thank you all for taking the time to discuss the film. No problem. For those who are on film during South by Southwest, I'll have a link to purchase tickets for any of the screenings in the description of this interview. But thank you all again. Have a great
Thanks
South by.
again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. You can find me on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads under my username, Austin B Media, as well as my Discord and Patreon community chat. Speaking of Patreon, if you'd like early access to this next interview or more exclusive content, head on over to patreon.com/AustinBmedia. For just $3 a month, you get 48-hour early access to my reviews, podcasts, interviews like this one, and articles, plus patron-only channels on my Discord. At the $10 a month tier, you'll unlock uncut podcast episodes, exclusive episodes, and more. If you enjoyed this interview, stay tuned for more South by Southwest 2025 interviews. Until next time.